The night is quiet. A soft wind moves across the wide land, brushing over sand and stone, over still water and sleeping earth. The sky above is deep and dark, filled with steady stars that seem to rest in place, unmoving, patient. Somewhere far below those stars, along the gentle curve of a river, a small settlement lies at rest. The river flows slowly. It does not hurry. It has followed the same path for longer than memory, and it will continue long after every voice here has faded. Its waters carry silt, cool and dark, and along its banks the earth is soft and fertile. This is where people live. This is where they wake each day, where they eat, where they work, where they return each night to rest their tired bodies. And among them is a worker. He is not a king, he is not a priest, he is not remembered in carvings or written in stone, but he is part of something vast, something that rises slowly from the ground, shaped by many hands like his, a pyramid. Before the sun rises, the air is still cool. Inside a small, simple home made of mud brick, the worker lies asleep on a woven mat. The walls around him hold the faint warmth of yesterday, but the night has softened it. There is a quiet comfort in the stillness. The home is not large. It is made with care, but not with decoration. The walls are smooth in some places, rough in others. A few small jars rest near one side, holding grain or water. A low clay lamp, now dark, sits near the entrance. There are others in the room, a family. They sleep close together, their breathing slow and even. Outside, the world begins to change, though very gently. The darkness begins to thin, not all at once, but slowly, like a long breath being released. A pale hint of light touches the horizon. The stars begin to fade, though some still linger. The worker stirs, not suddenly, not sharply. His body wakes in its own time, guided by habit more than thought. He opens his eyes, though the room is still dim. For a moment he remains still, listening. There is no loud sound, only the quiet presence of morning arriving. He sits up slowly. The ground beneath him is cool. The air brushes lightly against his skin. He reaches for a simple linen garment, worn but clean, and wraps it around himself. There is no rush. There is always work to be done, but the beginning of the day is calm. He steps outside. The village is beginning to wake. Other doors open. Other figures step into the soft light. There are quiet movements, small gestures, the low murmur of voices not yet fully awake. In the distance, the river reflects the growing light of the sky. It moves steadily, as it always does. The worker walks toward it. The ground beneath his feet is firm but slightly uneven. He has walked this path many times before. Each step is familiar. When he reaches the water, he kneels. He cups his hands and lifts the cool river water to his face. It is refreshing. It clears the last traces of sleep from his mind. He drinks a little slowly. Nearby, others do the same. There is no need for many words. The presence of others is enough. As the sun begins to rise, the world takes on a soft golden color. The light spreads across the land, touching the river, the fields, the distant stone structures that stand against the horizon. And there, far but always visible, is the growing shape of the pyramid. It does not appear suddenly. It rises slowly over time, layer by layer, stone by stone. Each day it becomes a little more, and each day the worker walks toward it. Before leaving, he returns home briefly. There is food to eat. Simple food. A small portion of bread made from ground grain. It is dense, slightly rough, but filling. Perhaps a few onions, maybe a bit of dried fish if it is available. He eats slowly. Food is not rushed. It is part of the rhythm of the day, just like the work,
just like the rest. A child stirs nearby, a quiet movement, a soft sound. The worker glances over, his expression calm. There is no urgency, only a steady awareness of those around him. When he finishes eating, he prepares to leave. There are tools to carry. Nothing complex, a wooden handle, a simple hammerstone, items shaped by use, worn smooth by many hands over time. He steps outside again. Now the village is more awake. The light is stronger, the sounds are clearer. Footsteps, soft voices, the occasional call of someone greeting another. The worker joins a small group. They walk together. Their pace is steady, unhurried. The path leads away from the river, towards the rising structure in the distance. The land begins to change as they walk. The soft soil near the river gives way to firmer ground. The greenery becomes sparse. The air feels drier, though still gentle in the early morning. The pyramid grows larger with each step. At first, it seems far away. Then, slowly, it begins to take shape. Edges, lines, angles. Massive stones stacked with careful precision. It is not yet complete, but it is already immense. The worker does not stop to stare. He has seen it many times. Still, there is a quiet awareness of its presence, a sense of something larger than any single person. When they arrive, the day's work begins. There are many workers here. Some carry stones, some shape them, some guide their placement. Each task is simple in itself, but together they form something vast. The worker takes his place among them. He knows what to do. There is no need for instruction. He moves towards a block of stone, resting on the ground. It is heavy. He does not lift it alone. Others join him. Together they position it, adjust it, guide it. Their movements are slow and careful. There is no sudden force, only steady effort. The sound of work fills the air, stone against stone, tools striking surfaces, footsteps shifting in the dust. The sun continues to rise. The light becomes brighter, warmer. Shadows shorten. Time passes, though it is not measured in hours. It is felt in the body, in the gradual warmth of the air, in the slow rhythm of effort and rest. From time to time, the worker pauses, not for long, just enough to breathe, to adjust his grip, to feel the weight of his own body. He looks around. The pyramid rises above him. It is difficult to see its full shape from so close. Only sections are visible at once. A slope here, a corner there. Other workers move along its sides, like small figures against something vast. The sky above remains clear, a pale blue that deepens as the day continues. A bird passes overhead. Its movement is smooth and quiet. For a moment, the worker watches it. Then he returns to his task. The morning continues. The rhythm does not change. Lift, guide, place, adjust. Again and again. Each action is similar to the last, and yet each one matters. Each stone adds to the whole. Each effort becomes part of something lasting. As the sun climbs higher, the heat begins to grow. It is not sudden. It builds slowly like the rest of the day. The air becomes warmer. The ground holds more heat. The worker feels it on his skin, on his shoulders, on the back of his neck. Still, the work continues, not with strain, but with acceptance. This is the way of the day. This is the way of life. At some point, there will be rest, but not yet. For now, there is only the steady movement of hands and stone, and the quiet passage of time beneath the wide, open sky. The river, far behind them now, continues to flow, unchanged, unhurried, as it always has, and as it always will.
The sun continues to rise, slowly and without effort. Its light spreads across the wide stone surface, warming each layer of the growing structure. The pyramid does not change quickly. It never does. Its growth is quiet, patient,
almost unnoticed in a single day. The worker stands among many others, his feet steady against the ground. The work goes on. There was a kind of rhythm to it now, a rhythm that does not need to be spoken. It lives in the body, in the arms, in the shoulders, in the breath. He bends slightly, placing his hands against the side of a stone block. It is rough beneath his fingers. The surface is not perfectly smooth. Small grains of sand press against his skin. Tiny edges catch the light as the sun grows brighter. Another worker stands beside him. They do not speak. They do not need to. Together they begin to move the stone. Not all at once, not with sudden force, but slowly, with steady pressure. The stone shifts, just a little at first, then a little more. The sound it makes is low and deep, a quiet scraping against the ground, a sound that blends into the many other sounds around them. There are voices in the distance, not loud, just soft calls, guiding movements, giving simple direction. Nothing hurried, nothing sharp, only calm instruction, carried gently through the air. The worker pauses for a moment. He straightens his back and takes a slow breath. The air is warmer now. It carries a faint dryness, mixed with the dust that rises gently from the ground with each step, each movement. He looks down at his hands. They are strong, worn from many days like this. The skin is thicker in some places, rough where tools have rested again and again. There are small marks, small lines that tell the story of repeated effort. But there is no discomfort in his expression, only quiet acceptance. This is how his hands have become what they are. This is how they do their work. Nearby, another group prepares a stone. They use simple tools, a hammerstone held firmly, a chisel-like edge pressed against the surface. Tap, pause, tap. The sound is soft but clear. Each strike is careful. Each movement is measured. They are not rushing. They are shaping. The stone slowly begins to change. Edges become more defined. Surfaces become flatter. Not perfectly smooth, but closer to fitting with the others. The worker returns to his task. The stone he and his group guide must reach a certain place. There is a path prepared. The ground beneath is slightly leveled, though still natural. Wooden sleds are sometimes used. Ropes, simple but strong, help guide the weight. He grips the rope. The fibers press into his palms. He leans back slightly. Others do the same. Together they pull. The movement is slow, but it is steady. The stone slides forward, a few inches, then more. The ground resists, but not completely. It allows the movement, little by little. Their feet press into the earth, leaving shallow marks that will fade later. Nothing here is permanent except the stone itself. The sun climbs higher. The light becomes stronger. Shadows grow shorter, softer. The warmth spreads across everything. The worker feels it now more clearly, on his arms, on his face, on the top of his head. Sweat forms slowly, not all at once, just a thin layer, a natural response to the rising heat. He does not stop. No one does. The pace remains the same, not fast, not slow, just steady. Time moves in a quiet way here. There are no clocks, no loud signals, only the position of the sun, the feeling in the body, the natural flow of effort and rest. The worker knows, without thinking, when the middle of the day begins to approach. It is in the brightness of the light, in the heaviness of the air, in the way his breathing deepens just slightly. Eventually there is a pause, not sudden, not announced loudly. It simply happens. Groups begin to slow. Tools are set down. Ropes are released gently. The stones remain where they are, waiting. The worker steps back. He wipes his hands lightly against his garment. Dust falls away in small clouds. He walks toward a shaded area. There is not much shade, only what can be found beside structures or beneath simple coverings made from cloth and wood. But it is enough. He sits. The ground is warm now, but not uncomfortable. Others sit nearby. Some stretch their legs. Some rest their arms across their knees. Some simply close their eyes for a moment. There is no silence, but there is no noise either. Only a soft mixture of breathing, shifting, and distant sounds of the place itself. Food is brought, simple as always. Bread again, perhaps a small portion of dried fish, some onions. A clay jar of water is passed carefully between them. The worker takes a piece of bread. It is firm, slightly coarse. He breaks it slowly, brings it to his mouth. Chews. There is no rush in eating. Each bite is taken with time. Each swallow is quiet. The water is cool compared to the air. He drinks slowly. The feeling is steady, calming. A light breeze moves across the area. It is not strong, but it is enough to shift the air slightly, to carry away some of the heat, to bring a small sense of ease. The worker notices it, not with surprise, but with quiet awareness. These small changes in the air are part of the day, part of the rhythm. After some time, the rest begins to fade, not because of any signal, but because the body is ready to move again. One by one, workers begin to stand, stretching slowly, lifting tools, returning to their places. The worker rises as well. He takes a slow breath, looks once toward the distant line of the river, barely visible now. Then he turns back to the work. The afternoon is warmer. The sun sits higher in the sky. The light is more direct, but still the rhythm remains unchanged. He returns to the rope, to the stone, to the steady pull. The ground beneath his feet is dry now. The earlier coolness has faded. Each step lifts a small amount of dust. It settles again quietly. Nothing here stays in motion for long unless guided. The pyramid stands above them all, larger now than it was before, not just from day to day, but even from morning to afternoon. A single stone placed can change the line of its edge. A small addition, but part of something much greater. The worker does not measure it. He does not calculate its height, but he feels its presence, a steady, silent form rising toward the sky. The afternoon continues in this way. Movement, effort, pause, breath. Again and again. The same actions, the same sounds, the same steady passage of time. Nothing sudden, nothing unexpected, only the quiet continuation of work beneath the sun. Far away, the river continues its slow journey. The village waits. The small home of the worker stands unchanged, cooler now inside than the open air, still and quiet, waiting for evening, waiting for return. And the sun, slowly, very slowly, begins its gentle path downward. Not yet near the horizon, but no longer rising, only holding its place before the long, quiet descent begins. The worker continues, his movement steady, his breath calm, part of the rhythm, part of the day, part of something that will remain long after this moment has passed.
The afternoon settles into a quiet stillness. The sun, though still high, begins to soften in a way that is almost unnoticeable at first. Its light is no longer growing stronger. Instead, it holds steady, resting above the wide land, as if pausing before its slow descent. The worker continues his task. His movements are not rushed. They have not changed since the morning. The same steady pulling, the same careful guiding of stone across the dry ground. The rope rests in his hands once more. It is warm now from the heat of the day. The fibers feel slightly rough against his skin, but familiar. There is comfort in that familiarity. He leans back gently. Others lean with him. Together they pull. The stone shifts forward again, leaving a shallow path behind it. The ground holds the mark for a moment, then slowly begins to soften its edges as dust settles back into place. Nothing here stays sharp for long. Only the stones keep their shape. A quiet voice nearby gives a soft instruction. It is not loud, not commanding, just enough to guide the next movement. The worker adjusts slightly. His feet press deeper into the ground for balance. His shoulders tighten for a brief moment, then release as the stone reaches its place. There is a pause, not a full rest, just a small moment where nothing moves. Then, carefully, the stone is adjusted. Hands press against its sides. Small shifts are made. It settles into position. Another piece added. Another quiet step in something much larger. The worker steps back. He inhales slowly. The air is warm, but it moves gently now. A soft breeze returns, passing across the open space. It lifts a small amount of dust, carries it a short distance, and lets it fall again. The worker feels it against his skin. It cools him just slightly, enough to notice, not enough to change the day. Around him, the work continues in many small ways. Some workers smooth the surface of stones already placed. Their tools tap lightly, a slow, repeating sound. Tap, pause, tap. The rhythm is steady, almost like breathing. Others carry smaller pieces, not as heavy, but still requiring care. Each movement has its place. Each person knows where they are needed. There is no confusion, only quiet understanding built over many days. The worker looks up for a moment. The pyramid rises above him, its sides angled toward the sky. From here, he cannot see the top clearly. It stretches beyond his view, but he knows it is there, growing slowly, always growing. The sunlight touches its surface in a soft, even way. Some areas are brighter, some fall into gentle shadow. The contrast is calm, nothing harsh, nothing sudden, just a calm transition from day toward night. He lowers his gaze again. There is more work to be done. There is always more. But it does not feel endless. It feels continuous, like the river, like the movement of the sun, a part of the world's quiet rhythm. Time passes without being counted. The worker feels it in his body, in the slight heaviness of his arms, in the steady pace of his breath, in the warmth that rests on his shoulders. These are the signs of the afternoon. Eventually, the light begins to change again, very slowly. The brightness softens, the shadows begin to stretch just a little longer. It is not yet evening, but the day has begun to lean in that direction. The worker notices this without thinking. His body understands it. The long hours of the sun are beginning to ease. There is another pause, longer this time, not a full end to the day, but a slowing. Tools are set down more often, movements become less frequent, voices are softer. Some workers sit for a moment, others stand quietly looking across the site. The worker rests his hands at his sides. He rolls his shoulders gently, easing the tension that is built there. His muscles respond slowly, relaxing in small degrees. A clay jar is passed again. Water remains, not as cool as before, but still refreshing. He drinks, slowly. The water moves through him with a steady calm. He hands the jar to another. No words are needed, only the simple act of sharing. The breeze returns once more, slightly stronger now. It moves across the open land, touching the surface of the stones, slipping between the workers, carrying with it the dry scent of earth and dust. The worker closes his eyes for a brief moment, not to sleep, only to feel the air, the quiet, the stillness that exists even within the work. In the distance, a bird calls, a soft sound. It echoes lightly, then fades. The sky above remains clear. Its color has begun to shift, still blue, but gentler, less intense. The beginning of evening is always slow, almost hidden. The worker opens his eyes again. He looks toward the horizon. Far beyond the worksite, beyond the dry ground, the faint line of green near the river can be seen. It feels distant now, but familiar, a place of rest, of return. The final movements of the day begin. Not announced, not ordered, they simply happen. A few more stones are guided into place, a few more surfaces are smoothed, small tasks completing the rhythm of the day. The worker joins in. His energy is steady, though quieter now. There is no strain, only continuation. As the sun lowers further, the light becomes warmer. A soft golden tone spreads across everything. The pyramid reflects it in subtle ways. Edges glow gently. Shadows deepen but remain soft. Nothing sharp, nothing harsh. Only a calm transition from day toward night. The worker steps back once more. He looks at the stone he helped place. It sits firmly among the others, part of the structure now, unmoving, enduring. He does not think of the future. He does not think of how long it will stand, only that it is there, placed with care, part of the whole. Around him, others begin to gather their tools. Ropes are coiled slowly. Hammerstones are set aside. Nothing is thrown, nothing is rushed. Everything returns to rest in its own time. The worker bends slightly to pick up his tools. They feel heavier now, not because they have changed, but because the day has been long. Still, he lifts them without difficulty. He has done this many times. The sky continues to soften. The sun moves closer to the horizon. The heat begins to ease. The air feels lighter, more open. The worker turns away from the pyramid. Along with many others, he begins the walk back. Their steps are slow, even, unhurried. There is no need to rush. The day is ending. The ground beneath their feet is still warm, but cooling gradually. Each step carries them closer to the river, closer to the village, closer to rest. Behind them, the pyramid stands in the fading light, silent, unmoving, holding the work of the day within its growing form. Ahead, the faint green of the riverbank becomes clearer, the promise of cool water, of shade, of familiar spaces. The worker walks with the others. No one speaks much. There is a shared quiet, a natural calm that follows a long day of steady effort. The sun lowers further. The sky begins to take on soft tones of gold and pale orange. The light stretches across the land in long, gentle lines. and the worker continues walking, step by step, breath by breath, returning slowly to the place where the day began.
The path back to the village feels different in the evening. The same ground lies beneath the worker's feet, the same gentle rise and fall of the land, the same distant line of the river ahead. But the light has changed, and with it the feeling of everything around him. The sun is lower now. Its warmth is softer, no longer pressing down, but resting lightly across the earth. Long shadows stretch beside the walking figures, moving quietly with each step. The worker walks among the others. Their pace is slow. There is no urgency in their movement. The day's work is complete, and nothing calls them to hurry. Each step carries a sense of quiet release. The air begins to cool. It is a gradual change, almost like a gentle exhale from the land itself. The warmth of the afternoon lifts away in small degrees, leaving behind a softer, more comfortable stillness. A light breeze moves across the open space. It touches the worker's skin, brushing away the remaining heat of the day. It carries with it a faint scent of dry earth, and somewhere beneath that, the distant presence of water. The river is near. The sky continues to shift. The bright blue fades into softer tones. Pale gold blends into light orange. Higher above, the color deepens slowly, preparing for the quiet arrival of night. The worker glances upward for a moment. Not long, just enough to notice. The sky is always there, but in these moments it feels closer, more present. As they walk, the shape of the village becomes clearer. Low mud brick homes, simple and steady, resting close to one another near the edge of the fertile land. Thin trails of smoke rise gently from a few cooking fires. They move slowly into the air, carried by the evening breeze. The sight is familiar. It does not change from one day to the next, and that sameness brings a quiet comfort. The ground beneath their feet begins to soften again. The dry firmness of the worksite gives way to soil that holds a little more life, a little more moisture. Small patches of green appear, simple plants growing close to the river's reach. The worker feels the difference in each step, a slight give beneath his feet, a subtle change in texture. The sound of water becomes faintly noticeable, not loud, just a soft, steady presence in the distance. The river continues its endless movement, unchanged by the passing of the day, unchanged by the work of men. As the worker reaches the edge of the village, the rhythm of the place shifts. There are more sounds now, still quiet, still gentle, but different from the steady pattern of labor. Soft voices, the movement of people returning just like him, the quiet preparation of the evening meal. Children moving slowly near the homes, their energy softer as the day comes to a close. He walks toward his home. It stands as it did in the morning, simple, unadorned, built of mud brick shaped by hand, dried under the sun. Its surface holds the warmth of the day, though it is already beginning to cool. The entrance is open. There is no door to close, only the quiet boundary between inside and outside. He steps in. The air inside feels different, still, slightly cooler. The thick walls hold back some of the day's heat, creating a small space of calm. His family is there, moving quietly, preparing food. There is no rush. Even this task follows the same slow rhythm as everything else. A small fire burns nearby.
Its light flickers gently against the walls. The flame is not large. It does not need to be. Just enough to warm the food, just enough to bring a soft glow into the dim space. The worker sets down his tools. He places them carefully in their usual spot. They will remain there until morning, resting just as he will soon rest. He sits, not heavily, not with exhaustion that demands attention, but with a simple, natural movement. His body lowers to the ground, finding a familiar place. The woven mat beneath him is firm but comfortable. It has been used many times. It holds the shape of repeated rest. Food is shared, the same simple nourishment as before. Bread, a few vegetables, perhaps some lentils softened by cooking. The worker takes a piece. He eats slowly. The taste is familiar. There is no need for variety. The body accepts what it is given and finds quiet satisfaction in it. A clay jar is passed again. Water, drawn from the river earlier, now resting in the cool of the evening. He drinks. The water feels different now. Not just refreshing, but calming. It settles into him gently. Voices are soft inside the home. There is little need for conversation. The day has already been full. Words are few, but presence is enough. The worker listens more than he speaks. The quiet sounds of his family moving, breathing, sitting nearby. It is a different kind of rhythm, one that does not require effort. Outside, the sky continues its slow transition. The sun moves lower, nearing the horizon. Its light becomes deeper, richer. A warm orange glow spreads across the land. The edges of the village are touched with it. The river reflects it in soft, broken patterns. After eating, the worker steps outside once more. The air greets him gently. Cooler now, easier to breathe. He walks toward the river again, not with purpose, not for work, only for the quiet comfort it brings. The ground is softer here. The scent of water is clearer. The sound of the river, though still gentle, feels closer. He reaches the edge, kneels once more. He washes his hands. The water moves over his skin, carrying away dust, small grains of sand, the trace of the day's labor. It is a simple act, but it marks the end of the work, a quiet separation between effort and rest. He remains there for a moment, looking at the surface of the water. It moves steadily, reflecting the colors of the sky above. Gold, orange, fading blue, all blending together in soft motion. Around him others do the same. Some wash, some sit, some simply stand and look. No one disturbs the calm. The evening belongs to stillness. The first hint of night appears. High above, the sky deepens. A faint star becomes visible, then another. Small points of light, returning quietly at places. The worker notices them, not with surprise, but with recognition. They have always been there. They always will be. He stands slowly, turns back toward the village. The firelight from the homes flickers softly now, small points of warmth against the growing darkness. He returns to his home, steps inside. The air is calm. The fire burns lower now, its light softer now, more gentle. He lies down. The woven mat welcomes him. His body settles. Muscles relax in small, gradual ways. His breathing slows. The sounds of the night begin to shape. Soft wind, distant water. quiet movement of others settling in their homes. There is no rush to sleep. It comes naturally, as it always does. The body knows when to let go of the day. Outside, the stars continue to appear, filling the sky slowly. The village grows quieter, each sound fading into the stillness. And the worker rests, not thinking of tomorrow, not thinking of the pyramid, just resting, held gently in the quiet of the night.
The night deepens slowly. It does not arrive all at once. It settles over the land in quiet layers, each one softer than the last. The last light of the sun fades gently from the horizon, leaving behind a calm and endless sky. The village rests beneath it. The small homes, built close to the earth, grow still. The soft glow of firelight inside them dims little by little until only faint traces remain. The sounds of movement fade. One by one, voices disappear. Only the natural sounds remain. The quiet wind, the distant river, the slow rhythm of night. Inside the home, the worker lies still. His body has found its place on the woven mat. The effort of the day has left him with a gentle heaviness, not uncomfortable, but grounding. His breathing is slow, even. Each breath comes and goes without thought. The air inside the home is cooler now. The thick walls have released the warmth they held from the day, and the space has settled into a soft, steady temperature. Around him, his family rests in the same quiet way, close but undisturbed, each person held in their own stillness. Outside, the stars continue to fill the sky. There are many of them, more than can be counted. They stretch across the darkness in soft, scattered patterns, some brighter, some faint. They do not move quickly. They remain steady, watching over the silent land. The worker does not see them now. His eyes are closed, but their presence is constant. The river continues its slow journey. It does not sleep. It does not pause. Its water flows gently, carrying with it the memory of distant places, the soft silt that feeds the land, the quiet motion that has always been. The sound it makes is low, barely more than a whisper, but it is always there. Time passes in a different way during the night. There is no sense of movement, no measure, only stillness. Moments stretch into one another without edges. The worker remains asleep. His body recovers in silence. Muscles loosen. Breath deepens. The weight of the day fades. At some point, the air becomes even cooler. A soft chill moves lightly across the ground, touching the walls of the homes, slipping through small openings, brushing gently against resting skin. It is not uncomfortable, only a quiet reminder that the night is at its deepest. The world is at its most still. Far away, a faint sound may rise and fall. The movement of an animal in the distance, a shift in the wind, a quiet echo that does not linger. But these sounds are soft. They do not disturb the calm. They become part of it. Slowly, very slowly, the night begins to change. Not in darkness, but in feeling. A subtle shift, almost impossible to notice. The deepest part of night begins to ease. The air holds a different quality. Still cool, still quiet, but preparing for something else. The first hint of morning does not come with light. It comes with a soft lifting of the stillness. The worker stirs slightly, not awake, not yet, but somewhere between sleep and waking. His breathing changes just a little, a deeper inhale, a slower exhale. then stillness again. Outside, the sky begins to shift. The stars remain, but their brightness softens. At the edge of the horizon, a faint pale glow begins to form. It is not strong. It does not spread quickly. It simply exists, a quiet signal that the night is beginning to release its hold. The river reflects this change before anything else. Its surface catches the faint light, turning from deep darkness into a soft, moving gray. The water continues its gentle motion, unchanged, unhurried. Inside the village, nothing moves yet. The homes remain quiet. The fires are nearly out. Only faint warmth remains beneath the ash. The worker still rests, but the moment of waking is near. The sky grows a little lighter. The pale glow expands slowly, touching more of the horizon. The stars begin to fade, not disappearing all at once, but one by one, quietly. A soft breeze moves through the village. It carries the coolness of early morning. It slips through the open spaces, across the ground, along the walls of the homes. The worker feels it, even in sleep. His body responds gently. He shifts slightly. His hand moves. His breathing changes again. And then, slowly, he wakes. Not suddenly, not with any sharp motion. His eyes open just a little. The room is dim, but no longer dark. A soft gray light fills the space. He remains still for a moment, letting the feeling of waking settle. He sits up slowly. The woven mat is firm, familiar. His body feels rested, not completely free of the work of yesterday, but ready to begin again. Around him, others begin to stir. Small movements, a quiet shifting of bodies. No one speaks. There is no need. The morning does not ask for words. He stands, moves toward the entrance, steps outside. The air greets him with cool softness. The sky is pale now. The sun has not yet risen, but its presence is near. A thin line of light stretches across the horizon. The village begins to wake once more, just as it did the day before, just as it will again. Doors open. Figures step out into the early light. The rhythm begins again. The worker walks toward the river. His steps are slow, familiar, each part of the path known to him. The ground still cool beneath his feet, the air still gentle. He reaches the water, kneels, cups his hands. The water is cool, refreshing. He lifts the water to his face, feels it against his skin, washes away the last trace of sleep. Nearby, others do the same. No one speaks loudly, only soft movements, quiet presence, the shared beginning of another day. The sun begins to rise, slowly. Its light touches the edge of the land, spreading in soft gold, warming the air, waking the earth. The worker stands, looks briefly across the river, then turns back. The day has begun. He walks toward his home once more. There is food to eat, tools to carry, work to return to. The pyramid waits, silent, unfinished, and the rhythm of his life continues, steady, calm.
The morning light spreads slowly across the land. It begins at the horizon, a soft line of gold that gently widens, touching the river first, then the fields, and finally the simple homes of the village. The air is still cool, but it carries the quiet promise of warmth that will return as the day continues. The worker steps back inside his home. The space is calm, softly lit by the growing light outside. The shadows along the walls are faint and gentle, no longer deep or heavy like they were in the night.
His family is awake now, moving quietly, preparing for the day in the same slow rhythm that has always guided them. A small portion of food is set out. Bread again, simple, steady, familiar. The worker sits and eats without hurry. Each bite is small, each movement calm. There is no need for more than this. The body accepts it, just as it always does. The morning carries a sense of beginning, not new, not different, but steady, a continuation of what has always been. After eating, the worker reaches for his tools. They rest where he placed them the evening before, untouched, waiting. He lifts them slowly. The weight is familiar in his hands. It does not surprise him. It does not trouble him. It simply belongs. Outside, the village has fully awakened. More people move along the paths now. Groups begin to form naturally, small clusters of workers gathering as they do each morning. There is no loud calling, no need to organize with words. Each person knows where to go, who to walk with, what the day will bring. The worker joins his group. They stand together for a moment, not speaking much, just present. Then, without any signal, they begin to walk. The path to the worksite stretches ahead, the same as yesterday, the same as the days before. The ground is cool beneath their feet, the air light and open. A gentle breeze moves across the land, brushing against their garments. As they walk, the sun rises higher, the light grows warmer, the shadows shorten slowly. The land begins to shift again from the softness of morning to the brightness of day. The pyramid appears in the distance. At first it is only a shape, a quiet form against the sky. But with each step it grows, edges becoming clearer, lines more defined, a presence that cannot be ignored even in its silence. The worker looks at it briefly, not with wonder, not with surprise, but with recognition. It is part of his life now, as constant as the river, as steady as the rising sun. They reach the site. The ground here is already dry. The coolness of morning begins to fade. Other workers have arrived, some before them, some at the same time. The space fills gradually, not with noise, but with quiet activity. The day's work begins again, just as it always does, without announcement, without delay. The worker moves to his place. His group gathers near a set of stones prepared for movement. Large blocks, cut and shaped, resting on the ground, waiting to be guided. He places his hands against the rope, feels its texture. The fibers press lightly into his skin. He adjusts his grip. Others do the same. There is a shared understanding, a quiet readiness. They begin. A slow pull, gentle at first. The stone responds gradually. It does not resist sharply. It simply requires patience, steady effort. The ground beneath the stone shifts slightly as it moves. A soft scraping sound follows, low, even, blending into the many other sounds around them. The worker leans into the movement, not forcing, only guiding. His body knows how to move, how much effort to give, how to balance. Around them, other groups work in the same way, each group with its own stone, its own task, but all moving in the same quiet rhythm. Some workers prepare the path ahead. They smooth the ground slightly, remove small obstacles, adjust the surface so the stone can move more easily. Their movements are small, careful,
each action simple but important. Others stand ready near the structure, waiting to guide the stone into its final position. Their eyes follow the movement closely, not with tension, but with calm attention. The worker continues to pull, step by step. The ground passes slowly beneath his feet. The stone moves forward, little by little. The sun rises higher still. The warmth returns, soft at first, then gradually stronger. The worker feels it across his back, his shoulders, the top of his head. Sweat forms again, light at first, then more noticeable, but it does not disturb him. It is part of the day, part of the work. The stone reaches its place. The group slows, stops, carefully. There is no sudden movement, no sharp end, only a gentle pause. Now comes the placing, the most careful part. Hands move to the sides of the stone. Small adjustments are made. The worker presses gently. Others guide from different angles. The stone shifts, just slightly. Then again, it settles into position, resting among the others. Another piece added. Another quiet step forward. The worker steps back. His breathing is steady, not rushed, not strained, just present. He looks at the structure for a moment. The pyramid rises a little higher, a little more complete, though it is never truly complete in a single day. Nearby, the shaping continues. Workers tap at stones with careful precision. The sound is soft, repeated, almost like a distant rhythm. Tap, pause, tap. The worker listens without thinking. The sound blends into the day, becomes part of the background, like the wind, like the movement of feet. He returns to his group. Another stone waits. Another task begins. The rhythm continues. Pull, step, pause, adjust, again and again. Time moves gently, without edges, without pressure, only the steady effort. The sun climbs higher still. The morning begins to shift toward midday. The air grows warmer, the light brighter. But the work does not change. The pace remains the same, the movement steady, the effort calm. The worker continues, part of the group, part of the rhythm, part of something that rises slowly, quietly, toward the open sky.
The sun continues its steady climb. It reaches a point high above the land where its light feels more direct, more present. The softness of the early morning has now given way to a fuller warmth that rests across the earth without interruption. The worker remains at his task. His movements have not changed. They are still slow, still careful, still guided by the same quiet rhythm that began at the start of the day. The stone beneath his hands is warm now. It has absorbed the sunlight, holding it gently within its surface. When his fingers press against it, he can feel that warmth clearly. It is not uncomfortable, just noticeable, a part of the world around him. The ground has dried further. Each step lifts a faint trace of dust. It rises briefly into the air, then settles again without sound. Nothing lingers for long. Everything returns to stillness. The worker adjusts his grip on the rope. The fibers feel slightly rougher now, drier. He shifts his hands just a little, finding a place that feels steady. Others around him do the same. Small movements, quiet adjustments. They pull together again. The stone moves forward, slowly, always slowly. There is no sudden motion, only a steady, patient progress. Around them, the work continues in many directions. Some groups guide stones across the ground. Others lift smaller pieces into place. Others shape the surfaces with careful taps. Each action blends into the next. No part stands out. Everything moves as one quiet system. The air is warmer now. It rests on the worker's skin with a steady presence. His breathing remains calm, slightly deeper than before, but still even, still controlled. A thin layer of sweat forms across his arms. It catches the light softly. He does not wipe it away immediately. There is no need. It is simply part of the body's response. The sound of the sight remains gentle. There is no loud noise, no sharp calls, only the steady mixture of movement and soft impact, stone against stone, footsteps in the dust, low voices carried lightly through the air. The worker pauses for a brief moment. He straightens his back, lets his arms rest at his sides. He takes a slow breath in, then out. The sky above is clear, a wide, open blue that stretches without end. There are no clouds to break it, only the steady light of the sun. He looks up for a moment, not long, just enough to feel the space above him, the openness, the quiet. Then he lowers his gaze again. The work continues. Another stone, another pull, another careful placement. Time passes in this steady way, unmeasured, unhurried. The sun reaches its highest point. The light is strongest now, but even this does not change the rhythm. The worker moves as he always does, with calm effort, with steady breath. Eventually, the shift begins, not sudden, not announced, but felt. The work slows, just slightly. Movements become less frequent. Groups begin to pause more often. Tools are set down with care. Ropes are released gently. The worker steps back. He feels the change. The body recognizes it. This is the time of rest. He walks toward a shaded area. There is not much shade, only a small covering stretched between simple supports. But it is enough. It softens the light, eases the warmth. He sits down slowly. The ground beneath him is warm but steady. Others gather nearby, each finding a place, each settling in their own way. There is no rush to speak, no need for words. The silence is shared, comfortable. Food is brought again, simple, familiar. Bread, a small portion of vegetables, perhaps a few dates. The worker takes his share. He holds the bread in his hands for a moment, feeling its texture, the firmness, the slight roughness of its surface. He eats slowly, each bite taken with care. The body receives it calmly, without urgency. A clay jar of water is passed. The worker takes it, lifts it gently, drinks. The water is not as cool as it was in the morning, but it still brings a sense of ease, a quiet relief. He passes the jar along. The movement is simple, unspoken, understood. A breeze moves through the shaded space, soft, light. It carries away some of the heat, just enough to notice. The worker closes his eyes for a moment, not to sleep, only to rest, to let the body settle. Around him, others do the same. Some sit quietly, some stretch their arms, some lean slightly forward, resting their hands on their knees. The sounds of the worksite fade into the background, still present, but distant, less important now. Time passes, slowly, gently. The sun remains high, but the rest allows the body to ease. The steady effort of the morning softens, the breath deepens, the muscles release their tension. The worker opens his eyes again. The light has not changed much, but something feels different. The rest has settled into him. He looks out across the site. The pyramid stands before him, still, unmoving.
its surface bright under the sun. He does not study it. He does not measure it. He simply sees it, a part of the world, a part of his day. After some time, the rest begins to end, not with a signal, but with quiet movement. One worker stands, then another. Tools are lifted again, ropes gathered, small motions returning. The worker rises as well. His body feels ready, not fully renewed, but steady. He returns to his place. The work begins again. The afternoon awaits, warm, quiet, unchanging, and the rhythm continues, as it always does.
The afternoon returns quietly. There is no clear line between rest and work. The shift happens gently, almost without notice. The workers rise, one by one, and move back to their places. The rhythm begins again, just as it did before. The worker stands with his group. The rope is lifted once more. It feels familiar in his hands. Still rough, still warm, but steady, reliable. They begin again. A slow pull, a careful step. The stone responds in its usual way, sliding forward with quiet resistance. Nothing changes, and in that sameness there is a calm that settles deeply. The sun remains high, but its intensity has softened just slightly. Not enough to cool the air, but enough to make the light feel less sharp. The worker feels this change without thinking. A small easing, a quiet shift. His body moves with practiced ease. Each step follows the last. Each breath finds its place. There's no wasted movement, nothing hurried, nothing forced. The ground beneath him is dry and firm. Dust rises gently with each step. It lingers for a moment, then disappears, like a quiet breath that comes and goes. Around him, the work continues in the same steady pattern. Groups move together. Stones slide slowly across the prepared paths. Tools tap lightly against stone surfaces. Each sound blends into a soft, endless background. The worker's arms feel heavier now, not from pain, but from the natural weight of repetition. The effort of the day has settled into his muscles. Still, he continues, because this is how the day moves forward. He shifts his grip on the rope again. Small adjustments, nothing more, just enough to stay comfortable. A nearby group guides a stone into place. Their movements are careful, measured. Hands press gently against the surface. The stone shifts, then settles. Another piece added, another quiet moment of completion. The worker watches briefly, then returns to his own task. The sky above begins to change in ways that are almost too subtle to see. The blue deepens slightly. The light softens at its edges. The long path toward evening has begun. The air still holds warmth, but it no longer feels as heavy. A faint breeze passes through from time to time. It moves across the open land, touches the worker's skin, carries away a small part of the heat. He notices it, not fully, just enough to feel the difference. A quiet comfort. The rhythm of the afternoon is slower, not in pace, but in feeling. There is a softness now, a gentle fatigue that settles into everything. The worker pulls, steps, breathes, again and again. Each action blends into the next. There is no clear beginning, no clear end, only continuation. The pyramid rises before him, its presence steady, unchanging, yet always growing. From where he stands, he can see workers along its lower levels, small figures moving slowly against the wide stone surface. They place stones, adjust them, step back, then begin again. The worker does not think about how high it will reach. He does not think about how long it will take. He only knows this moment, this stone, this step.
Time passes, quietly, without interruption. The sun lowers just a little more. The light grows warmer. Soft gold begins to mix with the pale brightness of the afternoon. Shadows lengthen, not sharply, but gently, stretching across the ground in soft lines. The worker pauses for a moment. He straightens, rolls his shoulders slowly. The movement is small, but it brings a sense of ease. He takes a breath, deep, calm, then returns to the rope. Another pull, another step. The stone moves forward. Nearby, a worker brushes dust from a finished surface. The motion is slow, almost careful, as if preserving the quiet of the place. The sounds remain soft, always soft. Nothing breaks the calm. The air continues to cool in small degrees, so slight it is barely noticed, but it is there, a quiet promise of the evening to come. The worker's body begins to feel lighter again, not because the work is easier, but because the end of the day is near, and the body understands this without words. He looks toward the horizon for a moment. The light there is warmer now, a deeper gold, the beginning of evening. Then he returns to his task, because the day is not yet finished. A final stone is guided into place, carefully, gently. The group works together, each movement precise, each action calm. The stone settles, firm, still. The worker steps back. His hands rest at his sides. His breathing is steady. Around him, others begin to slow, not stopping yet, but easing. The rhythm softens. The sun lowers further. The sky shifts into warmer tones, gold, soft orange, hints of fading blue above. The light touches the pyramid in a new way. Its edges glow. Its surfaces reflect the warmth of the sun. It stands quiet, almost peaceful. The worker watches for a brief moment, then lowers his gaze. The tools will soon be set down, the ropes gathered. The work will rest until morning. But for now, there are still a few movements left, a few quiet actions to complete the day. He returns once more, pulls, steps, guides, and the rhythm continues, soft, steady, unbroken, until the evening fully arrives.
The evening settles in slowly. The sun lowers toward the horizon, and its light softens into a warm, gentle glow. The brightness of the day fades without hurry, replaced by a calm and steady quiet that spreads across the land. The worker stands among the others. The final movements of the day are coming to an end. There is no signal, no sudden stop, only a natural slowing. Hands release the ropes. Tools are lowered carefully to the ground. Small groups pause, standing still for a moment, as if letting the rhythm of the day come to rest within them. The worker lets his arms fall gently to his sides. They feel heavy now, not painfully, but with the quiet weight of a long day of steady effort. His breathing remains calm, even, unchanged. The pyramid stands behind him. It holds the work of the day within its growing form. Another layer, another small rise toward the sky. But now it rests, just as the workers do. The sky continues to change. The golden light deepens. Soft orange spreads across the horizon. Higher above, the blue fades into a gentle, dim shade. The world feels quieter. The worker bends slightly and gathers his tools. He lifts them with care. The weight is familiar, but now it feels different. Not something to use, but something to carry back, to set down, to leave until morning.
Around him, others do the same. Ropes are coiled slowly, placed neatly aside. Nothing is left scattered. Everything returns to stillness. Without words, the workers begin to turn, one by one, small groups forming again, just as they did in the morning. The worker steps forward. The path back to the village lies ahead. The same path, unchanged, but now touched by the soft colors of evening. They begin to walk. Their pace is slow, even. There is no need to hurry. The day has already given what it had. Now it asks only for quiet return. The ground beneath their feet still holds a little warmth, but it is fading, cooling gently with each passing moment. A light breeze moves across the land. It carries the softness of evening, a faint coolness that touches the skin and lingers briefly before moving on. The worker feels it, a small sense of relief, a quiet comfort. No one speaks much. There is no need for conversation. The silence is shared, not empty, but full of calm. Their footsteps create a soft rhythm, a quiet sound against the ground. Step, pause, step. The pyramid slowly grows smaller behind them. Its large form remains visible, but it no longer fills their view. It becomes part of the background once more, a distant presence. Ahead, the village begins to appear, low shapes against the soft light, the faint outline of homes, the suggestion of life returning. Thin lines of smoke rise into the sky, cooking fires being prepared, the evening meal slowly taking shape. The worker notices this, not as something new, but as something expected, a part of the day's gentle closing. The sky deepens further. The colors become richer. Gold fades into orange. Orange begins to soften toward a dim red near the horizon. Above, the first hints of deeper blue return. The worker continues walking, each step steady. His body begins to release the effort of the day. Not all at once, but slowly. The land around him becomes softer again. The dry ground of the worksite gives way to soil that holds more life. Small patches of green appear. The air carries a faint hint of water. The river is near. The sound of it reaches them, soft, steady, a quiet flow that has not changed. They reach the edge of the village. The shift is gentle, more movement, more presence, but still calm. People move quietly between homes, some preparing food, some returning like him, some already resting. The worker walks toward his home. It stands just as it did before, simple, steady, unchanged. He steps inside. The air feels cooler here, still. The walls hold the softness of evening. His family is present, moving gently, preparing the evening meal. The faint glow of a small fire flickers against the walls. The light moves softly, never harsh, never bright. The worker sets down his tools in their usual place. He does not think about them. They will wait, just as they always do. He sits. His body lowers slowly, finding rest without effort. Food is shared, simple. Bread, vegetables, a small portion, but enough. He eats slowly, each bite calm, each movement quiet. There is no rush, no urgency, only the steady rhythm of nourishment. A clay jar is passed. Water. He drinks. The coolness settles into him, soft, comforting. The sounds inside the home are gentle, low voices, the movement of hands,
the quiet presence of others. Outside, the last light fades. The sky darkens. The first stars begin to appear, small points of light returning to their places. After eating, the worker stands, steps outside once more. The air is cooler now, the breeze softer, the land quiet. He walks toward the river, as he does each evening, not for work, only for the calm it brings. He kneels at the edge, washes his hands. The water flows over his skin, carrying away dust, the small traces of the day. He remains there for a moment, looking at the surface of the river. It reflects the darkening sky, the faint glow of the last light, the first stars. Everything moves slowly. The water, the air, the fading of the day. He stands again, turns back. The village glows softly with firelight, small warm points against the deepening night. He returns to his home, steps inside. The fire burns low, the light dim, the space calm. He lies down, the woven mat beneath him, firm, familiar. His body settles, the weight of the day fading, breath slowing, muscles relaxing. Outside, the night grows deeper. The stars fill the sky. The river continues its quiet flow, and the worker rests once more, held gently by the stillness.
The night settles fully across the land. There is no longer any trace of the sun. Its warmth has faded gently, leaving behind a calm and even coolness that rests over the earth. The sky above is deep and wide, filled with quiet stars that shine without movement. The village is still. Each home has grown silent. The soft glow of firelight has dimmed, fading into darkness one small moment at a time. What remains is a gentle shadow, a quiet space where everything has come to rest. Inside the home, the worker lies on his woven mat. His body is still, his breathing slow. Each breath comes softly, then leaves just as quietly. The effort of the day has fully settled. It no longer presses against him. It has become something distant, something that has already passed. The air inside the room is cool and steady. It does not move much. It simply rests, holding a quiet stillness that wraps gently around everything within it. Outside, the wind moves lightly. It passes over the ground, brushing against the walls of the homes, slipping through the small spaces where air can enter. It does not disturb. It only reminds. The night is alive in its own quiet way. The river continues its slow journey, unseen in the darkness, but always present. Its movement does not change. Its sound remains soft, a steady whisper that blends into the silence. The worker does not hear it clearly, but it is there, a constant part of the world he rests within. Time moves differently now. There are no steps to follow, no tasks to complete, only the gentle passage of moments that do not need to be measured. His body rests deeper, muscles release fully. The small tensions that remained from the day fade away, one by one, without effort. His breathing becomes slower, more even, a steady rhythm that matches the quiet of the night. Around him, others sleep in the same way, each person resting in their own stillness, close but separate, connected by the shared calm of the night. Outside, the stars remain steady. They fill the sky without change, some bright, some faint,
all quiet. The darkness holds everything gently. There are no sharp edges, no sudden sounds, only a soft, endless stillness. At times, a faint sound may pass through the night, the movement of a small animal, a shift in the air, a distant echo that fades almost as soon as it appears. But these sounds do not disturb. They become part of the quiet, blending into the calm without breaking it. The worker remains asleep, his body heavy in a peaceful way, his mind quiet, untroubled. The woven mat beneath him supports his weight evenly. It has held him many times before. It knows the shape of rest. The walls around him stand still, holding the coolness of the night, protecting the quiet inside. Time continues, slow, gentle, unnoticed. The night deepens even further, reaching its quietest point, a moment where everything feels paused, suspended, at rest. Then, very slowly, something begins to change. Not in the darkness, not in the stillness, but in the feeling. The air shifts slightly, a faint difference, almost impossible to notice. The deepest part of the night begins to pass. The worker's breathing changes just a little, still calm, still slow, but slightly lighter, as if preparing. Outside, the stars remain, but their brightness softens, just slightly. The horizon holds a faint hint of something new, not light, not yet, but the quiet beginning of it. The river continues to move, always the same, always steady. The wind slows, becomes even softer, almost still. The village remains quiet, unchanged. And within this deep calm, the worker rests, completely, gently, held by the night, carried by its stillness, waiting, without knowing, for the slow return of morning.
The night begins to loosen its grip. Not suddenly, not in any way that can be clearly seen. It is a change that happens beneath the surface of things, in the quiet spaces between moments. The darkness remains. The stars remain. But something soft begins to shift in the feeling of the air. Inside the home, the worker sleeps on. His body is still heavy with rest. His breathing steady, slow, even. There is no thought inside him that reaches for the day. Only quiet, only rest. The woven mat beneath him holds his shape without resistance. It has become familiar over many nights, many mornings, many returns from work. It supports him without effort. Like everything else in this quiet life, it simply does its part. Outside, the river continues its movement. It does not change its rhythm for the night or the morning. It flows as it always has, soft, constant, unbroken. A faint breeze moves across the land. It is weaker now than before, almost delicate. It passes over the rooftops, over the dry ground, over the still paths of the village. Then it fades again, leaving silence behind it. The deepest part of the night is now behind, but the world has not yet fully turned toward morning. It rests in between, a space of stillness that belongs to neither darkness nor light. The worker shifts slightly in his sleep, a small movement. His hand relaxes further. His breathing deepens for a moment, then returns to its steady rhythm. Inside the home, the air remains cool. It carries no urgency, no pressure, only calm, only quiet presence. The village is almost entirely still. No fires are active now. No movement is visible.
only the faint outline of homes under the dim sky. The stars begin to soften slightly. Their brightness does not disappear, but it feels less sharp than before, more distant, more gentle. At the edge of the horizon, a subtle change begins. It is not light, not yet, only a faint lifting of darkness, a quiet suggestion that time is moving forward again. The worker remains asleep, unaware of this shift, but his body responds anyway, as if it understands something the mind does not need to know. His breathing becomes just a little lighter, still slow, still calm, but with a quiet readiness within it. The night continues to fade in small steps, each one almost invisible, each one blending into the next. The river reflects this change first. Its surface grows slightly less dark. A faint grayness appears where there was once deep black, still flowing, still steady, but touched now by the beginning of change. A very soft wind passes again. It is brief. It does not stay. It only moves through and disappears. Inside the home, the worker remains still. His rest is deep, but not heavy in the same way as before. There is a subtle lightness forming within it, like the edge of waking, still far away. The walls around him hold the cool air gently. They do not change. They remain as they always are. Simple, strong, quiet. The village remains silent, but it is no longer the same silence as the deepest night. It has begun to shift, almost unnoticeably. The horizon grows a little clearer, still dark, still calm, but with a softness that was not there before. The worker stirs again, a very small movement. His shoulder shifts slightly. Then stillness returns. Time continues its slow passage, without sound, without urgency. The sky above begins to hold a faint trace of transition. The stars are still present, but they feel less dominant now, less sharp against the darkness. The river keeps moving, always moving, a steady thread through the silence of night and the approach of morning. The worker breathes in slowly, then out. His body remains at rest, but something inside him begins to turn gently toward waking. Not yet, not fully, only the beginning of it. Outside, the world remains quiet, but no longer frozen. It is waiting now, softly, calmly, for the return of light. And so the night continues to fade, not ending, not breaking, only slowly giving way.
The horizon begins to brighten in a way that is almost impossible to notice at first. It is not light yet, not truly, only a quiet easing of the darkness, as if the night is slowly letting go of its hold on the world. The stars remain visible, but they no longer feel as close as before. They soften, they fade in gentle steps. Inside the home, the worker rests in the last moments of deep sleep. His body is calm, his breathing steady. There is no urgency in him, only stillness, only quiet rest. The air inside the room begins to change slightly. It is still cool, but there is a subtle shift, a softness that was not there before. The kind of change that belongs only to early morning, when night and day are almost touching. Outside, the river reflects this shift first. Its dark surface begins to carry a faint gray-blue tone. Not bright, not clear, just the beginning of visibility returning to the world. It continues to flow without pause, as it always does. A faint breeze moves across the land. It is gentle, almost careful. It passes over the village, over the fields, over the sleeping paths that soon will be walked again. Then it fades,
leaving silence behind it. The worker stirs, slowly, naturally, not as a reaction to anything, but as part of the rhythm that has guided every day of his life. His hand shifts slightly. His breathing changes just a little. Then stillness returns. The sky continues to lighten, very gradually. The darkness is no longer complete. It now carries depth, layers, soft gradients of fading night. The first hint of dawn is not visible as light. It is felt in the quietness, in the way the world no longer feels fully asleep. Inside the village, nothing moves yet, but everything feels ready, as if waiting, patient, calm. The worker's breathing becomes a little lighter again, still slow, still even, but with a gentle openness, as if his body is preparing without needing instruction. The river remains steady, its sound unchanged, but its surface is now slightly more visible, catching the faintest suggestion of approaching morning. The sky at the horizon begins to show the smallest trace of color, not gold yet, not orange, only a soft, pale shift between darkness and something new. The worker turns slightly in his sleep, a small adjustment, then stillness again. Time continues to pass without being felt, without being measured, only experienced as quiet transition. The stars begin to fade more noticeably now, one by one. They do not disappear suddenly. They simply lose strength, becoming softer, more distant. The village remains silent, but it is no longer the silence of deep night. It is the silence of waiting, of beginning. Inside the home, the worker's rest begins to thin gently, not breaking, not ending, just loosening, like something preparing to open. His breathing changes again, slightly deeper, slightly lighter, still calm, still peaceful, but closer now to waking. The air outside grows just a little clearer. Shapes begin to separate from darkness. Roofs, walls, the outline of the land, all slowly returning. The river reflects this change more now. Its surface now holds a faint, moving gradient of gray and blue, still flowing, still steady, but no longer hidden. A very soft sound of wind passes once more. It is brief. It does not stay. It only marks the passing of time. The worker remains still, but not fully deep in sleep anymore. There is a quiet awareness beginning within rest itself, a gentle readiness. The horizon brightens again, this time slightly more, still subtle, but undeniable. The night is now thinning. The morning is approaching. The village begins to feel different, not active, not yet awake, but no longer fully asleep. The worker breathes in slowly, then out, and in that breath something shifts, very gently, very naturally. He begins to wake, not fully, not quickly, but in layers, like the world around him. Outside, the first real hint of sunrise begins to form, a soft glow at the edge of the sky, pale, quiet, patient. The stars fade further, the darkness releases its hold, and the sky begins its slow return to light. Inside the home, the worker opens his eyes slightly. The room is no longer dark. It is dim. Soft gray light fills the space. He remains still for a moment, just feeling the transition, the end of night, the beginning of day. Then he breathes in deeply, slowly, sits up, and the new day begins again.
The morning arrives without sound. There is no clear moment where night ends and day begins. It happens slowly, like a curtain being lifted in very small steps, revealing the world piece by piece. Inside the home, the worker sits up fully now.
The woven mat beneath him holds the shape of his rest, warm in a quiet way from the night that has just passed. The air in the room is cooler than the body, steady and still. He does not move quickly. There is no need. For a moment, he simply remains there, sitting, breathing, letting the quiet of sleep fully release from his body. His eyes adjust gently to the soft gray light filling the space. It is not bright, not yet, only the early presence of morning. Around him, his family also begins to stir. Small movements, slow changes in position. No words are spoken. The morning does not ask for speech. It only asks for presence. Outside, the village is beginning again in its quiet way. Doors open slowly. Footsteps appear on the soft ground. People step out into the cool air, one by one, as if following a rhythm that has always existed. The worker stands. His body feels rested, not completely free of yesterday's effort, but ready in a familiar way. He reaches for his simple garment and adjusts it slowly. Then he steps toward the entrance. Outside, the air greets him, cool, clean, still holding the softness of early morning. The sky is pale, stretching wide above the land, not yet blue in its fullness, still holding traces of night at its edges. He begins walking, not toward the work site yet, but toward the river, as he always does, as the day always begins. The path is familiar beneath his feet, soft earth, light texture, a few small stones here and there, unchanged from yesterday. The ground feels slightly damp in places, holding the memory of night's coolness. As he walks, other workers join him along the way, small groups forming naturally. No one calls them, no one directs them. They simply come together. The river becomes visible ahead, a long, quiet line moving through the land. It reflects the early sky in soft shades of gray and pale blue. The surface is smooth in some places, broken in others by gentle movement. The worker reaches the edge and kneels. The water is cool. He cups it in his hands, brings it to his face. The sensation is immediate but gentle, a quiet awakening of the senses. He pauses there for a moment, hands resting near the water, looking at its steady flow. It moves forward without hesitation, without end. Around him, others do the same. No conversation, only the soft rhythm of shared routine, water, stillness, breath. The sky above continues to brighten, slowly, gradually. A faint warmth begins to return to the air, but the heat of the day is still far away. The worker stands again, his face now fully awake. The last traces of sleep have disappeared. He turns away from the river and begins to walk back toward the village. Food is already being prepared. Simple morning bread, grain shaped and baked in quiet fires. The smell is faint but steady in the air. It does not overwhelm. It simply exists, familiar, comforting. He returns to his home briefly, sits, eats slowly, each bite small and steady. The body receives it without resistance, as it always does. There is no rush. The day is still in its beginning. Everything moves gently. After eating,
He stands again. He reaches for his tools. They are unchanged, waiting in their place. He lifts them, feels their weight, familiar and constant. Outside, the village has now fully awakened. People move more clearly along the paths. Groups begin forming for the walk to the worksite. The rhythm of the day takes shape again. The worker joins his group. They stand together for a moment, then begin walking. The path toward the pyramid stretches ahead. The land is now brighter than before. The sky continues to open into soft morning blue. The sun is still low, but rising steadily. As they walk, the pyramid appears in the distance, quiet, strong, unchanged from the night, but waiting for the day's work to begin again. It rises from the earth like something patient, something permanent. The worker does not focus on it for long. It is simply part of the view, part of the world he moves through. The air warms slowly as they walk. The coolness of early morning begins to fade. The day is arriving fully now. Their footsteps remain even, slow, shared, a quiet rhythm of many people moving as one. They reach the site. Others are already there, some arriving at the same time. The space fills gently with presence, not noise, not chaos, only quiet readiness. The worker takes his place. The rope is lifted again. The stone waits. The day's work begins once more, just as it always has, just as it always will.
Where the workers gather. The day's work resumes without interruption. No announcement, no clear beginning, only movement returning where it paused. The worker takes his place with the others. The rope is already there, resting on the ground, waiting to be lifted again. It feels the same as it did yesterday, the same as it did every day before that. He bends slightly and places his hands on it. The fibers are familiar beneath his fingers, worn, rough, comforting in their consistency. A quiet understanding passes through the group. No words, just presence. Then together they begin. A slow pull, a steady shift. The stone responds with patient resistance, as it always does. It does not move quickly. It never does. It moves in small, careful steps across the prepared ground. The sound it makes is low, a soft scraping, blending into the many other sounds of the site. Footsteps, light tapping of tools, distant voices that carry only what is necessary, nothing more. The worker adjusts his stance, one foot back, one forward. His body leans gently into the effort, not with strain, but with practiced ease. The stone inches forward, then pauses, then moves again, each motion small, each motion deliberate. Around him, other groups are doing the same, some guiding stones, some smoothing surfaces, some placing blocks into higher sections of the structure. Each task different, but all part of the same quiet system. The pyramid stands above them all, its shape more defined now than it was in the morning, layer upon layer of stone, forming a steady rise toward the sky. It does not feel new, it feels continuous, as if it has always been there, and is simply becoming more visible over time. The worker does not look at it for long. His attention returns to the rope, to the ground, to the next movement. The sun continues its slow rise. The light becomes stronger, warmer, but still gentle, not yet heavy, not yet overwhelming. The air carries a soft stillness between moments of movement. When the stone pauses, the world feels almost suspended. Then it resumes again. The worker's breathing remains steady, in, out, matching the rhythm of the task. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. His arms begin to feel the familiar weight of repetition, not pain, not fatigue that interrupts, but a deep, steady sense of effort that becomes part of the body itself. He does not resist it, he works with it. The stone moves again, another small shift forward. The ground beneath it has been prepared carefully, flattened, adjusted, guided so that each movement is possible. Nothing here happens without preparation. Nothing happens without patience. The worker pauses for a brief moment, straightens, rolls his shoulders slightly, then returns to position. The rhythm continues. Pull, step, pause, adjust. The sun rises higher. The morning begins to stretch toward midday. The shadows shorten slowly. The light grows more direct. But even as the heat begins to build, the pace does not change. It remains steady, controlled, measured. There is a kind of balance here, between effort and rest, between movement and stillness, between many people working together without needing to speak. A stone is guided into place nearby. The worker sees it only briefly. It is lifted by a group, adjusted carefully, set down with precision, then released. It becomes part of the structure, silent, stable, final for this moment. The worker returns to his own task, the rope again, the slow movement again, the familiar rhythm again. Time passes without being marked. There are no divisions in the day, only changes in light, in warmth, in the feeling of the air. The sun reaches higher still. The light becomes fuller. The earth warms beneath it. The worker feels it across his shoulders, across his back, but it does not break the rhythm. It simply becomes part of it. Eventually, a soft easing begins. Not a stop, not a break, but a slight slowing. Movements become less frequent. Pauses become longer. The body recognizes the approach of rest. The worker steps back from the rope. His hands remain relaxed at his sides. He breathes deeply, once, then again. Around him, others do the same. The group loosens its formation slightly, not dispersing, just easing. They move toward shaded areas, simple structures, cloth stretched over wooden frames, or the shade of stone already placed. The worker sits. The ground is warm beneath him, but not uncomfortable. It holds the heat of the morning gently. Water is brought, shared among them, passed from hand to hand. The worker drinks slowly, the coolness moving through him quietly. No one speaks much. There is no need. The silence is enough. It carries everything that does not need words. The pyramid stands in the distance, still growing, still unchanged in its purpose, but resting now in this moment of pause. The worker closes his eyes briefly, not sleeping, just resting, letting the body settle into stillness again. The wind moves lightly across the site, carrying dust, carrying warmth, carrying the slow passage of time. And in this quiet pause, the day continues to move forward, softly, steadily, without breaking its calm rhythm.
The midday heat settles gently over the land. It does not arrive all at once. It grows slowly, as if the sun itself is simply holding its place a little longer in the sky, letting its warmth spread evenly across everything below. The workers remain in their resting area. The shade is small, but it is enough.
It softens the light, breaking it into calmer tones, easing the sharpness of the sun into something more manageable. The worker sits with his back slightly curved, his arms resting loosely at his sides. His body is warm now, not strained, just filled with the steady presence of the day. He breathes slowly, letting the air move in and out without effort. Around him, others rest in the same way. Some sit with their heads lowered slightly, some stretch their legs, some simply remain still, eyes half closed, letting the pause settle fully into their bodies. There is no conversation, only quiet presence, only shared stillness. A clay jar is passed again. The water inside is no longer cold, but it still carries relief. The worker takes it, drinks slowly, feels it move through him in a calm, steady way, then passes it along without a word. The ground outside the shade is bright. The sun sits high now. Its light is strong, but not harsh in an aggressive way. It is simply constant, unchanging, present. The pyramid stands in that light. Its surfaces reflect the day in soft, pale tones. Some edges glow faintly, others fall into gentle shadow. It does not feel distant even from here. It feels like part of the same breath as everything else. The worker looks at it for a moment, not studying, not thinking, just seeing. Then he lowers his gaze again. Time stretches during this pause, not in boredom, but in softness. The body slows, the mind quiets, everything becomes simpler. The heat remains steady outside the shade, but here, under the covering, it is bearable, even calm, the kind of heat that does not demand reaction, only acceptance. The worker closes his eyes briefly. The sound around him is faint, wind passing gently, distant movement of others still resting, the soft presence of the land itself. His thoughts drift lightly, not forming anything clear, just passing like water through quiet ground. There is no urgency in them, no direction, only stillness. After a while, movement begins again, not sudden, not announced, but gradually returning. One worker stands, then another, then another. The pause is ending. The body recognizes it before the mind does. A slow readiness returns. The worker opens his eyes. He exhales once, then rises with the others. The shade is left behind. The sun greets them again, warm, steady, unchanged. Tools are picked up, ropes gathered, hands adjust their grip without hurry. The familiar weight returns, not as burden, but as continuity. They walk back to their places. The ground is hotter now, the dust slightly more active underfoot, lifting briefly with each step before settling again. The work resumes, slowly at first, then steadily. The rhythm returns as if it never left. A stone is guided again. A group gathers around it. They pull together. The movement begins, small, measured, patient. The worker feels the rope again in his hands. Same texture, same resistance, same quiet familiarity. The stone shifts forward, a few inches, then pauses, then moves again. The sun begins its slow descent only after a long stillness at its peak, subtle at first, almost unnoticeable, but present, always present. The shadows begin to lengthen again, very slowly, stretching across the ground in soft lines. The air begins to lose a fraction of its weight, not cooling fully yet, but easing, like the land preparing to release the day. The worker continues his task, his movement steady, his breathing calm, his body now accustomed to the full arc of the day. Another stone is placed nearby, carefully, gently.
It becomes part of the structure without noise or ceremony, just presence, just placement. The pyramid stands taller than it did in the morning, not dramatically, but noticeably, a quiet accumulation of effort, layer by layer, moment by moment. The worker does not dwell on it. He returns to the rope, to the ground, to the next small movement. The afternoon slowly begins its transition towards evening. The light softens again. The heat eases slightly. The pace remains the same, but the feeling of the day begins to change. It is not yet time to stop, but it is no longer the height of effort. It is something in between, a gentle continuation towards rest. And so the rhythm carries forward, stone by stone, step by step, breath by breath.
The day begins to loosen its grip. It does not end suddenly. It softens, slowly, like something that has been held for a long time, finally allowing itself to relax. The light across the work site changes first, not in color yet, but in feeling. It is less sharp now, less direct. The sun, still present, no longer feels like it is pressing down. It begins to sit lower in the sky, easing its weight across the land. The workers continue their tasks, but the rhythm has shifted slightly. Still steady, still calm, but now there is a quiet awareness that the day is moving toward its close. The worker holds the rope in his hands. The fibers are warm from the sun, familiar from the long hours of use. He pulls once more with the group. The stone moves forward in its slow, careful way, then pauses, then settles. No one speaks of ending. There is no need. The body already knows. The sky begins to change in color. The strong blue softens into something warmer. Hints of gold begin to appear near the horizon, subtle at first, then slowly spreading outward. The shadows grow longer across the ground. They stretch gently, as if reaching toward the evening before it fully arrives. The worker straightens slightly. His arms feel heavier now, not tired in a sudden way, but in the way that comes after a full day lived steadily without interruption. Around him, movements begin to slow, not stopping yet, but easing. Tools are lifted less often. Adjustments take more time. The urgency of the morning is gone. What remains is careful completion. Another stone is placed. This one feels like a quiet marker, not final, but part of the day's closing rhythm. It settles into position with soft guidance, then stillness. The worker steps back. He looks at the structure for a moment. The pyramid stands taller again, its surface catching the warm light of late afternoon. It does not feel like something being built in haste. It feels like something growing naturally, like the land itself shaping upward over time. The air begins to cool slightly. A faint breeze moves across the site. It carries away some of the heat that has been held through the day. It touches the skin gently, brings a small relief. The workers begin gathering their tools. Slow movements, careful hands. Nothing is rushed. Everything is returned to order. Ropes are coiled. Stones are left exactly as they are meant to remain. The worker lifts his tools. Their weight feels different now. Not heavier, not lighter, just familiar in a deeper way, as if they belong to the end of the day more than the beginning. Together, the group begins to walk away from the worksite. The movement is quiet, unspoken, shared. The path ahead leads back toward the river and the village beyond. The pyramid remains behind them, still, silent,
holding the work of the day within its growing form. The sun continues to descend, now closer to the horizon. Its light becomes softer, warmer, more golden. The entire landscape seems to breathe differently under it. Less tension, more ease. The walk back is slow. The ground beneath their feet is familiar, the same path as always, but now it feels different in the fading light. Long shadows stretch beside them, moving with each step. The worker walks in silence. His body begins to release the effort of the day, not all at once, but gradually, like a slow unwinding. The river appears ahead, its surface reflecting the changing sky, gold and soft orange blending into the water's gentle motion. It continues to flow as it always has, unchanged, unhurried. They pass along its edge. Some pause briefly to wash their hands. Others simply continue walking. The worker dips his hands into the water, feels the coolness, lets it wash away the dust of the day. Then he stands again and continues on. The village comes into view, simple shapes against the evening light, smoke rising gently from small fires beginning to glow. The scent of food preparing slowly fills the air. The worker approaches his home. The structure is unchanged, quiet, waiting. He steps inside. The air is cooler now than outside, still, comforting in its simplicity. His family is there, moving slowly, preparing the evening meal. The fire inside is small, its light soft and steady. It flickers gently against the walls. The worker sets down his tools, carefully, in their usual place. They will rest here until morning. He sits. The ground beneath him is familiar, solid, calm. Food is shared, simple, bread, a few vegetables, perhaps something warm from the fire. He eats slowly, each bite unhurried. Water is passed again. He drinks, the coolness settling into him like a quiet ending to the day. Outside, the sky deepens more. The sun lowers fully toward the horizon. Gold turns into orange, orange into soft red, then slowly into the beginning of night. After eating, the worker stands up once more. He walks outside. The air is cooler now, gentle, even. He moves toward the river again, not for labor, not for need, only for quiet closure. He kneels at the water's edge, washes his hands once more. The river moves steadily over his skin, carrying away what remains of the day. He pauses there, looking at the reflection of the sky, now fading into dusk. Then he stands, turns back toward the village. Firelight begins to glow softly in small points, homes becoming warm against the approaching night. He returns home, steps inside, lies down. The mat receives him gently. His body settles, breathing slows. The weight of the day dissolves into stillness. Outside, night begins its quiet return. The stars reappear one by one, and the worker rests, as he always does, as the world quietly returns to silence.
Night returns to the land in its slow, familiar way. It does not arrive like something new. It returns like something that has always been waiting quietly just beyond the edge of sight, gently covering everything again without effort. Inside the home, the worker lies still on his mat. His body has fully accepted rest now. The tension of the day has dissolved into softness.
His breathing moves in a slow, steady rhythm, unbroken and calm. The fire inside the home is low. Its light is small and steady, flickering gently against the mud brick walls. It does not try to brighten the space. It simply exists, offering a soft warmth that fades gradually into shadow. Inside the home, the worker's eyes are closed. There are no thoughts that hold him tightly, only faint impressions that drift and fade without shape. The river, the stone, the slow pull of rope, then nothing, then stillness again. Outside, the village has become quiet once more. The movement of the day has ended. Homes rest in darkness, shaped only by faint outlines under the sky. The wind is minimal now, passing gently and leaving no trace behind. Above everything, the stars return, one by one. Not all at once. They appear softly in the dark sky, as if remembering their place after a long absence. They do not rush. They simply exist, steady, distant, calm. The river continues its motion through the night. It is unchanged by darkness, unchanged by sleep. It flows as it always has, carrying the land's quiet rhythm forward without interruption. Its sound is soft enough to feel more than hear, a presence rather than a noise, a presence rather than a noise. The worker remains asleep. His body rests deeper now, muscles fully relaxed, breathing even and slow. There is no effort anywhere within him, only release, only quiet. Time moves differently in this part of the night. There are no markers, no divisions, only continuity. Moments blend into each other without distinction. The air inside the home grows cooler, not sharply, but gradually. It settles around the sleeping figure like a calm layer of stillness, comforting, unchanging. A faint sound may pass through the distance, something small in the world outside, but it does not disturb anything. It dissolves into the silence before it can be noticed fully. The worker shifts slightly in his sleep, a slow, natural movement. Then stillness returns. His body remains at rest, held by the steady quiet of the night. Outside, the land is completely still now. No visible movement remains, only the presence of night across everything. The stars hold their positions, some brighter, some softer, all part of the same endless sky. They do not change, yet they feel alive in their stillness. The river continues, always the river. Its motion never stops. It does not belong to day or night. It simply continues through both. Inside the home, the fire dims further. Its glow becomes faint, barely more than a memory of light. The room grows darker, but not empty. It is filled with quiet instead. The worker's breathing deepens slightly, a slow inhale, a slow exhale, then stillness again. There is no sense of time passing now, only the deep calm of uninterrupted rest, the kind of rest that holds the body without question, without demand. The night reaches its deepest point again, not sudden, not marked, just a gradual settling into the quietest version of itself. Everything becomes softer in this moment. Even the idea of movement feels far away. The world rests fully. And within this stillness, the worker continues to sleep, held gently by the night. As the pyramid stands far away in the darkness,
waiting silently for the return of morning and the slow continuation of work. Nothing is finished, nothing is paused, everything simply rests.
The deepest part of the night holds the world in a quiet stillness. It is not heavy. It is not empty. It is simply full of calm that does not move. The village rests beneath it, every home gently closed in silence, every sound softened into nothing more than distance. Inside the home, the worker sleeps on. His body is completely at ease now. There is no trace of effort left in his muscles, no memory of strain in his breathing. Only the slow, natural rhythm of rest continues through him. The fire has faded almost entirely. A faint warmth remains where it once burned, but the light is nearly gone. The room is now shaped mostly by darkness and the soft outline of stillness. Outside, the land is motionless. The wind is nearly absent. Even the air feels settled, as if it has paused to rest alongside everything else. The stars above remain steady. They do not move. They do not change. They simply continue to exist in their distant arrangement, unchanged by time passing below them. The river flows without interruption. Its presence is the only continuous movement in the world at this hour. It does not hurry. It does not slow. It simply continues, carrying the night forward in quiet balance. The worker shifts slightly in his sleep, a small natural adjustment. His breathing remains even, slow, unbroken. Time feels almost suspended here. There is no sense of beginning or ending, only an ongoing stillness that stretches without edges. The village is fully quiet. No movement, no sound that rises above the level of silence, only the presence of sleeping homes beneath the open sky. The air inside the home is cool now, but not cold. It rests gently around the sleeping figure, holding him in a steady comfort that does not change. The worker's mind remains at rest. No thoughts hold shape. No images remain for long. Everything dissolves before it becomes clear. Outside, the night begins to soften again, though it is still far from morning. This change is not visible. It is felt only in the slightest easing of darkness, a subtle shift, like something slowly preparing without intention. The river reflects nothing clearly now, only faint movement in the dark, a constant flow that continues through all hours without acknowledgement of time passing. The worker breathes in, then out, slow, even. There is nothing else within him but rest. The night continues its slow passage, unmarked, unbroken. At some point, a faint change begins at the edge of awareness. Not light, not sound, only the suggestion that the night is no longer at its deepest point. A soft easing, a quiet loosening. The worker does not wake, but his body responds gently. His breathing shifts slightly, becoming a touch lighter, then returns to stillness. Outside, the sky remains dark, but not as deep as before. The stars still shine, but they feel slightly softer against the vastness above. The village remains unchanged. Everything is still. Everything is calm. The river continues to move forward, carrying the night toward its slow conclusion. Inside the home, the worker rests without interruption, held in the same steady rhythm of sleep. Nothing reaches him. Nothing disturbs him. Time continues in its quiet way, without direction, without urgency, only passing. And the world remains in this gentle state between deep night and the first suggestion of dawn, waiting without awareness for the return of light. The night begins to soften again. not in any clear or visible way at first. There is no sudden change in the sky, no sharp break in the darkness. It is only a quiet easing, like the world slowly relaxing its hold on stillness. Everything remains calm. Everything remains quiet. But something subtle has begun to shift. Inside the home, the worker continues to sleep. His body is deep in rest, fully surrendered to stillness. There is no tension left in him now, no remaining effort from the day before. Only slow, steady breathing continues. In, out, soft and even. The air inside the room is cool and steady. It does not move much. It simply exists around him, unchanged, patient, gentle. The faint memory of the fire is gone now, leaving only darkness shaped by soft outlines and familiar space. Outside, the village is still completely quiet. No movement can be seen. No sound rises from the homes. Only the presence of sleeping people, each held in their own quiet rest. The sky above remains dark, but the darkness is no longer at its deepest point. It has begun to loosen slightly, as if the night is slowly preparing to give way without resistance. The stars are still there, but they feel a little softer now, less sharp against the sky, more distant. The river continues its steady movement. It does not change with the night. It does not wait for morning. It simply flows, carrying time forward in its own quiet way. Its sound is faint, almost blended into silence itself. Inside the home, the worker shifts slightly, a small movement, natural, unconscious. Then stillness returns. His breathing remains slow and even. Time continues without measurement. There are no moments marked here, only continuity, a gentle passing that cannot be separated into parts. Outside, the air begins to feel slightly different. Not warmer, not brighter, only subtly lighter, as if something unseen is slowly easing its weight from the world. The village remains unchanged, every home still, every path empty, every sound absent. The river reflects the darkness, but with a faint suggestion of movement that feels less heavy than before. It continues forward, without pause, always forward. And the night, still present, begins to loosen its grip just enough for the coming dawn to slowly prepare itself beyond the horizon.
The night begins its final quiet change. It does not end. It does not break. It simply loosens its hold, little by little, in ways that are almost impossible to notice unless one is already listening to silence itself. Everything remains still, but everything is no longer exactly the same. Inside the home, the worker continues to sleep. His body is calm, fully at rest. There is no weight of the day left in his muscles now, only the deep, natural stillness that comes after long effort and complete release. His breathing remains steady, slow, even. The air around him is cool, unchanged, and soft. It does not shift or disturb, it simply holds the space around him gently, as if the entire room is resting alongside him. Outside, the village is silent. Every home remains still. Every path remains empty. There is no movement visible anywhere in the land. Only the quiet presence of sleeping life beneath the sky. The sky itself is dark, but not as deeply dark as before. There is a faint easing in its vastness, a softness that suggests distance rather than depth. The stars remain,
but they no longer feel as sharp or bright as they once did during the deepest part of the night. They feel slightly gentler, more distant, more calm. The river continues its steady flow. It does not pause. It does not change direction. It moves forward through the night with the same quiet rhythm it has always carried, reflecting nothing clearly, only motion and presence. Inside the home, the worker shifts very slightly, a natural movement, almost like a breath within sleep itself. Then stillness returns. His body remains deeply at rest. Time moves without form here. There is no structure to measure it, only a continuous unfolding of quiet moments that blend into one another without separation. Outside, the air carries a subtle difference now. Not warmth, not light, only a faint easing, as if the world is preparing itself without intention, a quiet anticipation that cannot be named. The village remains unchanged. No doors open, no fires are lit, no footsteps cross the ground. Everything stays in place, held in calm suspension. The stars above remain visible, but their presence feels softer now, less intense against the sky. The darkness that surrounds them is no longer at its deepest point. It has begun to release, slowly, naturally. The river reflects this shift in its own way. Its surface is still dark, but the darkness is not as heavy. It carries a faint sense of openness now, as if the world around it is gradually preparing to return. Inside the home, the worker's breathing deepens for a moment. A slow inhale, a gentle exhale, then stillness again. There is no waking yet, only the quiet transition between deep rest and the earliest preparation for morning. The night continues to fade in invisible layers, each one so small it cannot be marked, each one blending seamlessly into the next. The sky begins to feel slightly less enclosed, not bright, not light, only subtly open, as if space itself is expanding quietly above the sleeping land. The river continues without change, the only movement in a world that otherwise rests completely still. Inside the home, the worker remains asleep, held in calm, supported by silence, surrounded by the steady rhythm of night that is now gently giving way. And somewhere beyond the horizon, beyond the reach of sight or sound, the first hint of dawn begins to gather itself without urgency, waiting for the moment it will slowly, quietly begin to appear.
The final hours of night move with an almost invisible softness. Nothing changes in a way that can be clearly seen. There is no moment of arrival, no clear transition, only a gentle loosening, as if the night is slowly releasing its hold on the world without ever announcing it. Everything remains quiet. Everything remains still. And yet the world is no longer held in its deepest darkness. Inside the home, the worker sleeps on. His body is completely at rest. There is no remaining tension, no trace of the day's labor left within him. Only the steady rhythm of breathing continues, calm and unbroken. In, out, slow, even. The air inside the room is cool and unchanged. It does not move. It does not press. It simply exists in quiet balance, surrounding the sleeping figure like something patient and familiar. Outside, the village remains silent. Every home is still. Every path is empty. There is no sign of movement anywhere across the land. Only the presence of sleep beneath the wide sky. The sky itself is dark, but the darkness is no longer absolute. It carries a faint softness now, as if it is beginning to thin in places too subtle to notice directly. The stars remain visible, but they feel less intense, less sharp against the vastness, more distant, more gentle. The river continues its steady flow. It does not change with the night. It does not respond to the slow shift in the sky. It simply moves forward, carrying time in its quiet, constant rhythm. Its presence is steady, unbroken, calm. Inside the home, the worker shifts slightly in his sleep, a small, natural movement. Then stillness returns. His breathing remains slow and even. Time continues without structure. There are no edges to it here, only a continuous unfolding of quiet moments that blend together without separation. Outside, the air begins to feel subtly different again. Not warmer, not brighter, only lighter in a way that cannot be clearly defined, as if something unseen is easing the weight of night from the world. The village remains unchanged. No movement appears. No sound rises. Everything stays in place, held in deep stillness. The stars continue to fade in strength, though they are still present. The sky no longer feels as enclosed as before. It feels slightly more open, slightly less heavy. The river reflects the faintest suggestion of this change, still dark, still quiet, but carrying a soft openness within its motion that was not there earlier in the night. Inside the home, the worker's breathing deepens for a moment, a slow inhale, a soft exhale, then stillness again. There is no waking yet, only the slow transition between the deepest rest and the earliest preparation for morning. The night continues to soften in layers too small to see, each one dissolving quietly into the next, each one bringing the world a little closer to dawn. The sky begins to feel less dense now, not bright, not light, only gently expanded, as if space itself is loosening above the sleeping earth. The river continues without pause, the only movement in a world that otherwise remains completely still. Inside the home, the worker remains asleep, held in calm, surrounded by silence, resting in the final quiet hours of night. And beyond the horizon, unseen and unhurried, the first true beginning of dawn continues to gather itself, waiting patiently for the moment it will finally appear. The night is now at its quiet turning point. Not the deepest darkness anymore, and not yet the beginning of light. It is something in between, a soft middle space where everything feels suspended in calm stillness. The world does not move, but it is no longer fully asleep. Inside the home, the worker continues to rest. His body lies still on the mat, fully supported by the familiar shape beneath him. There is no tension left in his frame, no resistance in his breath. Only deep, even sleep continues, steady and unbroken. The air in the room is cool and quiet. It does not shift. It does not change. It simply remains, holding the space with a gentle, unchanging presence. Outside, the village is still completely silent. Every home remains closed in darkness. Every path is empty. No sound rises from anywhere in the land. Only stillness remains. The sky above is dark, but no longer heavy. The darkness feels thinner now, as if it has been gently stretched across the sky, rather than pressed tightly against it. The stars are still present, but they feel softer, more distant than before. The river continues its movement through the night. It does not pause for rest. It does not wait for morning. It flows steadily, carrying the quiet passage of time forward without interruption. Its sound is faint, almost like breathing in the distance, Inside the home, the worker shifts slightly again. A small adjustment in sleep. Then stillness returns. His breathing remains slow and even. Time continues without shape or structure. There are no clear moments here, only continuity. A long, gentle unfolding that cannot be measured. Outside, the air feels subtly different once more. Not warmer, not brighter, only slightly lighter, as if the world is easing itself towards something new without effort. The village remains unchanged. No movement appears. No lights are lit. Everything stays still, held in the calm of the night. The stars continue to fade in intensity. They are still visible, but they no longer feel as sharp or close as they did earlier in the night. The sky feels more open now, less dense, more spacious. The river reflects this change quietly. Still dark, still flowing, but carrying a faint softness within its surface, as if the world around it is slowly becoming less heavy. Inside the home, the worker breathes in slowly, then out. A deeper breath than before, but still within sleep. Then he returns to stillness. There is no waking yet, only the final stretch of deep rest before morning begins to approach. The night continues to soften in ways too subtle to notice directly, each change blending into the next without separation. Each moment gently easing the world forward. The sky begins to feel slightly less enclosed again. Not bright, not illuminated, only quietly expanded, as if something far beyond sight is preparing itself. The river continues without change, the only constant movement in a still world. Inside the home, the worker remains asleep, held gently in silence, surrounded by calm, resting in the quiet transition between night and the coming day. And far beyond the horizon, the faintest suggestion of dawn continues to gather itself, patient and unhurried, waiting for the moment it will slowly begin to appear.
The night now feels different in a way that cannot be clearly named. It is still dark, it is still quiet, but something within the darkness has begun to loosen, like a very slow exhale held by the world itself finally letting go. Nothing changes quickly, everything changes gently. Inside the home, the worker continues to sleep. His body remains fully at rest, supported by the steady comfort of the mat beneath him. There is no tension left in his muscles, no resistance in his breath. Only the slow rhythm of deep sleep continues, steady and calm. In, out, even, soft. The air inside the room is unchanged, cool, still, familiar. It holds the sleeping space in quiet balance as it has through the entire night. Outside, the village remains completely silent. Every home is still. Every path is empty. No movement is visible anywhere across the land. Only the presence of deep night remains. The sky is dark, but not as heavy as before. It feels slightly more open now, as if the darkness is no longer pressing down, but simply resting across the sky in a softer way. The stars are still there, but they feel gentler, less sharp, more distant. The river continues its steady movement through the night. It does not change with the sky. It does not pause for rest. It flows forward with quiet certainty, carrying time in a rhythm that never breaks. Its sound is faint, almost imagined, blending into the silence. Inside the home, the worker shifts slightly again, a small natural movement in sleep. Then stillness returns. His breathing remains even and slow. Time continues without structure or direction. There are no moments to count here, only a continuous unfolding of quiet presence.
Outside, the air feels subtly different once more. Not warmer, not brighter, only lighter in a way that is difficult to notice unless one is already very still, as if the world is slowly releasing the weight of night. The village remains unchanged. No light appears, no sound rises. Everything rests in place, held in deep calm. And the stars continue to soften. They are still visible, but their intensity has faded slightly more. The sky feels less dense than before, more open, more quiet. The river reflects this change in its own way, still dark, still flowing, but carrying a faint softness that was not present earlier in the night, a subtle sense of openness within its movement. Inside the home, the worker breathes in slowly, then out. A deeper breath passes through him, but he remains asleep. Then stillness returns again. There is no waking yet, only the final quiet stage of rest before the world begins to turn toward morning. The night continues to soften in invisible layers, each one blending into the next without boundary, each one bringing the world closer to dawn without announcing it. The sky feels slightly less enclosed again, not bright, not light, only gently expanded, as if space itself is becoming more open above the sleeping land. The river continues without pause, the only movement in a world that remains completely still. Inside the home, the worker remains asleep, held in calm, surrounded by silence, resting in the final stretch of the night. And beyond the horizon, unseen and patient, the first true beginning of dawn continues to gather itself quietly, waiting for the moment it will finally appear. The night is now very close to its quiet turning point, not because anything has changed sharply, but because everything has softened so much that the difference between night and the coming morning feels thinner than before. The world remains still, but it no longer feels entirely closed in darkness. Inside the home, the worker continues to sleep. His body is fully at rest. There is no strain in his muscles, no heaviness in his breathing. Only the steady, unbroken rhythm of sleep remains, flowing through him like something natural and uninterrupted. In, out, slow, even. The air inside the room is calm and cool. It does not shift, it does not react. It simply remains present, surrounding the sleeping figure in quiet balance. Outside, the village is still completely silent. Every home is dark. Every path is empty. No movement appears anywhere in the landscape. Only stillness remains beneath the sky. The sky itself is dark, but no longer at its deepest weight. It feels slightly lighter now, as if the darkness has loosened just enough to let space exist within it. The stars are still visible, but they are softer than before, less intense, more distant. The river continues its steady motion through the night. It does not pause, it does not change. It simply flows forward, carrying the passage of time in a quiet, continuous line. Its presence is constant and calm. Inside the home, the worker shifts gently in his sleep, a small movement, natural and unforced. Then stillness returns again. His breathing remains slow and even. Time continues without structure or boundary. There are no clear moments here, only a long, continuous presence of quiet unfolding. Outside, the air feels slightly different once more. Not warmer, not brighter, only subtly lighter, as if something unseen is easing the world toward a new state. The village remains unchanged. No light appears, no sound is made. Everything continues in deep rest. The stars continue to fade in subtle degrees. They are still there, but their brightness is less sharp now. The sky feels more open, less dense, more quiet in its vastness. The river reflects this quiet shift, still dark, still flowing, but carrying a softness that was not present earlier in the night, a sense of gentle openness within its motion. Inside the home, the worker breathes in slowly, then out. A deeper breath passes through him, but he does not wake. Then stillness returns. There is no waking yet, only the final stage of deep night, where rest and the coming morning exist very close to each other. The night continues to soften in ways too small to see, each change blending seamlessly into the next, each one quietly moving the world closer to dawn. The sky feels slightly less enclosed again, not bright, not illuminated, only gently expanded, as if space itself is preparing for something new beyond sight. The river continues without interruption, the only movement in a world that otherwise remains completely still. Inside the home, the worker remains asleep, held gently by silence, resting deeply, unaware of the slow approach of morning. And beyond the horizon, the faintest beginning of dawn continues to gather itself patiently, waiting for the exact moment when the night will finally begin to give way.
The night reaches its quietest end. Not a sudden ending, but a soft fading, like breath slowly releasing after a long and peaceful rest. The darkness is still present, but it no longer feels deep. It feels light, almost thin, as if it is gently stepping aside without resistance. Everything is still, everything is calm, and everything is waiting. Inside the home, the worker sleeps in his final moments of rest before morning. His body is fully relaxed, his breathing slow and even. There is no tension left anywhere within him. Only deep, steady sleep remains, holding him gently in place. Inside the room, the air is cool and quiet. It does not change, it does not move. It simply stays, like a soft space between night and morning. Outside, the village is still completely silent. Every home remains dark. Every path remains empty. No sound rises, no movement appears, only the presence of a world at rest. The sky above is dark, but it is no longer heavy. It feels open now, light in its stillness. The stars remain, but they are fading slowly, their brightness softening, as if they are stepping back from the sky. The river continues its movement through the night. It does not pause, it does not end. It flows forward with the same steady rhythm it has always carried, quietly guiding time into morning. Inside the home, the worker shifts one last time in sleep, a small, natural movement. Then stillness returns completely. Time feels almost paused here, not because it has stopped, but because nothing interrupts it anymore. Only quiet continuity remains. And then, very gently, something begins to change. Not light yet, not fully morning, only a faint suggestion at the edge of the world, a softness in the sky that did not exist before, the first quiet presence of dawn. The worker does not wake, but his breathing becomes slightly lighter, as if his body feels the change before the mind does, then stillness again. Outside, the stars continue to fade, not all at once, one by one, without sound, without urgency.
The sky begins to open in a way that cannot be fully seen yet, only felt, a slow widening, a gentle return. The river reflects the first hint of this change, still dark, still flowing, but no longer completely hidden in night. A faint openness begins to touch its surface. Inside the home, the worker remains asleep, held in calm, surrounded by silence, resting in the final edge of night. And beyond the horizon, the first real breath of morning begins to gather itself, patient and unhurried, ready to rise when the world is fully prepared to welcome it. The night does not end loudly. It simply becomes morning, little by little, until nothing remains of its darkness except memory and quiet peace.